So the first session is mostly like just a lot of talking, not too much of working with him. So like I have an agenda in my mind of like the stuff that we like to talk about the first session of like crate training and potty training, but I would love to hear from you guys like what your primary issues or concerns are and why you're seeking some guidance.
So he is like the sweetest little guy. I think we both feel really, really blessed to have gotten him. And we both grew up with dogs. And my parents have a Bernedoodle who's about 3 years old. And so we know about the breed and we know about like dogs and stuff. But I think the biggest thing that we both want to get out of this like training is just to like set him on the right course and kind of get that good foundation for future behavior and future just kind of personality. Like I think there have been a lot of people we'll meet in the neighborhood, and some people have kind of crazy dogs, and other people have dogs that like don't move at all, and that's kind of sad on the other hand, because like those dogs have been trained so well, and I think we don't want to lose his own personality and like fun and like spontaneity and like let him enjoy life too. But we do want him to, obviously like in the city, there's like the safety issue of traffic and streets and just like daily life. I think there are certain things that we would love to kind of tweak about him. The stuff that kind of comes to mind at the moment is just like the normal puppy biting and kind of how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good about going in his crate for sleeping at night. We would, I think, love to push his wake up time out a little bit. He's generally, we'll put him to bed around 10-ish, 10:30, and do like the last little potty outside is what we say. And he's good until between 5 and 6 a.m. And so he generally wakes up right around, I would say he's been waking, he did 6 for a while, and then he started slowly backing that to 5.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, we live in a 3 flat, and it's just like you don't want to have him barking and barking and barking at 5 in the morning. So I kind of have been bad to like go get him when he does that. At night, if he barks, we kind of just let it go through. But I would say honestly, in probably the last like 3 weeks or more, he hasn't barked at all at night, and he's pretty good when we put him in. And we kind of try to put him in a little zonked out and tired. I would say so those are kind of like the crate side of it. The other side is like during the day, I work from home, you work outside of the house. And so like I'm very bad with like the separating from him. And so we have not really left him too many times at home.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
The COVID dog problem.
Yeah, and it's like very real for me because my dog who's 4 and has never really had any issues. COVID has given him some behavior stuff. So it's very real. Like he'll resource guard me now, which is like strictly just from spending too much time together.
Yeah. And it's hard to, from the puppy standpoint too, just because that's new to him, but also like we're not just ripping that Band-Aid off as soon as I think we would have, in a pre-COVID world.
I mean, in a pre-COVID world, like he would have probably been going to like daycare a little bit, or, and you would have had to leave him, and I would have had to leave him, and we probably would have come home for lunch or had dog walk.
Yeah. And then how's potty training going?
So I would say, I'd say probably like 8 out of 10 is what I would give potty training. Like can you hear him in the background? He's like sniffling. Poor
He's
guy.
got like a little reverse sneeze, we think.
Oh yeah.
Oh, poor goof. He's just like, So I would say like 8 out of 10. I don't know what you would give it. I'd be kind of curious to see, but like he goes poop like twice a day right after meals. So we'll try to like hold out as long as possible.
It's pretty predictable.
After he eats, I love to give it about at least like a half hour, 45 minutes after he eats to take him out, just to kind of like let it all digest through him. He'll go pee right away when we get outside, and then we'll have to walk a little bit, but he's got his like preferred pooping spots, and we can tell when he's ready to poop. I would say we have an accident here or there. Today we haven't had any, knock on wood, but I'd say we probably average, maybe one accident every 2 days, 3 days. And I will say, I think it's tricky because sometimes like we don't really have a sign that we like that he does for us. But like I've kind of started reading him, the past couple of weeks, and it's just like if he goes to the back door, I know he probably has to do it. We've got a rooftop, so if he starts climbing the stairs, I know generally he's ready to go. And I think the tricky thing is sometimes 9 out of 10 times he will go, if we bring him out then. But sometimes he won't. And so the hard thing is like, we'll bring him out and then he won't do it. And I'm just like, pal. But we reward him with like a little treat when he does it. Our like little keyword for him is potty outside. So we tell him that, and he kind of sniffs around and does it. And we've got like a little, like we're on the top floor with 3 flat. And so we've got like the little like, pee pad, and it's
on
like
the back porch.
It's like a little fresh one that's looking a little gross at the moment. And so the new one's kind of being sorted out at the moment too. So but I would say pretty good. I think we just want to avoid the accidents and have him on that front like last a little longer at night. Because when he wakes us up, he does have to go. Like that 5 a.m., that 5:30, like he goes. I take him out and he goes. I think the hard thing is I'm happy to take him out at 5:30, but I would love to like have him chill for another hour, 2 hours would be
That's
ideal.
The puppy, right?
He should be capable of it. Is he a standard Bernedoodle or a mini standard? Okay, so that works in your favor. The smaller dogs, they have smaller bladders, so it will makes potty training a little bit different. And then, do you know how much poodle he is versus burner?
I think
he's
that's
50-50. Yeah.
So he's in F1.
Yep.
Sound right? Okay, awesome. Just making note of that, because how much poodle is in them like really plays a large factor in like their drive, you could say, and like some of their just like how they see the world is different than a Bernese Mountain Dog.
Okay.
So, okay, that was all really helpful info, and it sounds like you're off to a pretty good start. The other question I had,
I feel like I
no, not at the moment. Sorry, go ahead.
The other question I had was, do you notice him like having, they're not issues, but like, is he like confident in the city? Does he have like any like nervousness or like fearfulness of anything?
He initially, it would be really hard. This was little like sod on our back patio. So we were taking him down 3 flights of stairs repeatedly. Yeah. And initially he was really kind of weirded out by the darkness and sound. So if we would take him out and maybe take him like right out front or along the side where we've got like just like a little natural area, he would kind of be easily spooked. But I feel like, and that would sort of prevent him from going potty. Yeah. But I feel like we've kind of got beyond that. Now maybe that's also coupled with the fact that we're not taking him down and he's not getting as much noise just right outside our door.
Right.
But I haven't noticed that quite as much.
Okay.
And he's done. So he was with Kyle's parents for a week. We just got him on Sunday in Wisconsin with like 2 acres of land. And so his routine was a little changed at that point. But since we brought him back, he is lying down on the sidewalk and putting his head in between his paws when another dog is coming towards him, which I don't know where that came from.
Stalking behavior.
It's what?
Stalking behavior.
Oh, interesting.
Then does he lunge like when the dog gets close enough?
So
Kind of,
I
right?
would say it's like a combo. Like he sometimes does the lunging and sometimes he just gets up and sniffs the dog and moves on.
Yeah. So some dogs naturally do that. It's stalking behavior. You'll see like a lot of dogs that are herding breeds do it usually. Or just dogs who are like have been over socialized and they've learned that if they put the brakes on, they get what they want. So over socialization is a thing.
So he was in Wisconsin, like Sarah said, with my parents, Bernedoodle, who's 3, and they've got another dog that's an English Springer, a boy and a girl.
That's what I have.
I grew up with English
Springer. I don't know if you can see on the wall. That's
yeah.
Oh my God. So cute.
Yeah, he's an awesome dog.
He's a cutie. Yeah. So he was up there with Daphne and Stuart, and so like those two are like just best of pals and running around and on 2 acres and living their best life. But then he showed up for the week, and he obviously wants to play in as the puppy, and so I wonder if that had something to do with it. But yeah, he didn't really do it beforehand.
Yeah,
it could, and like he could have had like a lot of dog interactions and learn, because that's how some dogs play. Like they like to do a slow approach and then they pounce. So it's also something that he could be maturing and like developing his own play style. But it's definitely something that I would not allow him to do, because it's really intimidating to other dogs. So it can trigger a lot of dogs' reactivities or like start dog fights, because it's very intense. Like when they stop and they just stare for a dog on, it can be very intimidating, especially if they're on a leash and the owners aren't aware and they're just closing the gap. And then like your dog may playfully pounce, but then that dog that's nervous will bite.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like you'll see that in Chicago a lot, because a lot of people have like Aussies and these like herding dogs that really shouldn't be in the city. So you see that a lot because it's their outlet.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. So we just need to kind of get him up on his feet and
just forward motion. Just keep going. The first couple times it may look a little messy. Like, I don't want to say like you're going to be dragging him, but you're going to have to get him up and going. But like, don't use words. Just keep forward motion going. Because as he gets bigger, it also becomes much more difficult to manage, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So
he, I would say his probably almost all his life so far, he has, if he sees another dog and wants to play or engage with that dog on the street, he will just sit down and stop. I would say the added thing this past week has been the lay down in between his paws, but he will not budge. And at least I've been like kind of letting him do that and waiting for the other dog to like come up. But it sounds like it's better to like, the dragging. I don't want to get like somebody, to be posted on next door.
If he's planted himself and he's budging, so he's already learning that he can be a brat and get away with it. And then he's waiting. His excitement is building, and then boom, at that next dog. And it oftentimes doesn't end well. Like most adult dogs do not appreciate being jumped on by dogs you don't know. And so while your dog is friendly and he doesn't have ill intent, it's just something it's just one of those things that happens a lot in the city and can cause issues. And you don't want him to be the recipient of a bite, obviously. So just keep him moving forward. And that will help just like a lot with just other behavior stuff too, as far as like soliciting attention and all of that. And we'll
Okay.
talk more about that as we go down the line. But so like, obviously interrupt me at any time. This is conversational. And if you have questions or you think like something you don't understand how it applies to your puppy, just let me know. But like I said, the first hour is kind of just like talking and just like giving you guys like pointers and just like my general tips and tricks for raising a puppy in the city. So as like history, my experience with dogs is very varied. I've trained search and rescue dogs. I've raised service dog puppies. I have my own dog. I sit on the board of directors for a service dog organization. So I do like a lot of just stuff with raising different types of puppies. And what it really comes down to is people focus too much on the obedience. Like the first thing they want to start teaching their puppies, sit, stay, come, all of this stuff, how to walk like nicely on the leash. But what you guys alluded to is like, it's the behavior that matters more than obedience, right? You can teach a dog how to sit at any age, but you can't teach them don't bark, don't bite, don't jump so easily at any age, right?
Yep.
So it's easier when you have a fresh dog that you can mold. And as things pop up, and they will, you can just correct and abolish behaviors that you don't like and reinforce and help grow behaviors that you do like. So that's kind of like, we'll get to the sit, the down, all of that. But I just like to help people understand the basics of raising a puppy to just set them up for being balanced and setting you guys up for knowing like how to address your dog. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. So like my biggest tip two biggest tips that I always tell people with new puppies is to limit greetings on leash and to never step foot in a dog.
Okay.
Cool.
That's good. We've only done it once.
We've only done dog park once.
And there was one other dog there.
Yep.
Okay, that's the only reason we went.
You guys are already like light years ahead, which is wonderful.
I will say we walk by the dog park every morning and he like
That's great.
looks in from the outside and he like looks sad and wants to play and like engages through the fence a little bit, but like I don't let him in.
Good. So there's like a running joke is the two types of people you never find at a dog park is a dog trainer and a veterinarian. And that about covers the scope of why dog parks are a huge no for me. For the dog trainer perspective, a lot of behavior issues are developed in dog parks. People bringing dogs thinking my dog's dog, it should be at the dog park, but like 90% of dogs don't like the dog park. They get bullied, they get picked on, and so then they learn to be defensive, which turns into reactivity, overcorrection, fearfulness, anxiety. It can push dogs that were just walking a line and previously would have avoided into confrontational defensive dogs. And you know, puppies' real personalities don't really shape and form until after they've entered sexual maturity. So you don't really know who he is yet and what he prefers. Puppies can be harder to read because most puppies are social. Most puppies don't have the confidence yet to defend themselves or correct dogs. And so one day you'll be at the dog park with your 7-month-old dog and you'll see it for the first time and you'll be like, I don't know, where did that come from? And it's just been building up, right? And then one day he gets the confidence to do it. So, and I just don't trust other people with their dogs. Like you hear about dog fights all the time, right? Then from the veterinarians, why you don't find veterinarians at the dog park is just like the diseases that get passed around in dog parks are gnarly. Super gross. People don't pick up after their dogs. They bring dogs knowingly who are sick there because, you know, whatever. Dogs get jumped on and trampled. They tear ACLs. Like, it's just not a fun place.
Yeah.
So I would advise no dog parks.
That's good to know.
While he's young.
And it's something we can implement. Like that's easy. Tech. Done.
Tell all your friends. So obviously it's not responsible to have a dog that's not trained off leash in the city. So on Amazon, or you can just go to Home Depot, you can buy long lines in 15, 30, 50, and 100 foot lengths. get a long line. If you guys want one made of biothane, so it's like really easy to clean, you know, a ton on Etsy that you can buy, or even on Amazon. So get yourself a long line, take him to the park, let him be a dog, but then he's still on a leash and you can have control of him.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, so, you know, do that, and then you can, like, you know, you'll be able to exercise him more than if he was at a dog park anyways. So do that, and then the no greetings on leash, you like, it's, I say like no greet on leash policy. A lot of people get taken aback by this because they're like, I've been doing the opposite. I've been told to socialize my puppy. But people have a misconception of what socialization means. Socialization actually more so just means exposure. So you should be taking your puppy as many places and observing as many different types of people, dogs, construction, the train, car accidents, ambulances, anything you can. But it's for them to observe and become comfortable with and process, not to force them into the situations. So you shouldn't be, you know, subjecting him to every dog on the street and every person. And it also sets up for really poor leash manners, because like he sounds like he's maybe more predisposed to being like more highly social. So that means that if he gets in the habit of greeting every person or dog that walks by, like, what do you think that's going to turn into?
Yep.
Yeah, it could be aggression.
I mean,
or not, it couldn't be aggression, but it can be frustration if he doesn't get the greeting that he's anticipating. So that can be seen as like frustrated reactivity, or, you know, putting the brakes on and being a brat. Or it can just be the dog that's like out of control on a leash, ping-ponging side to side, jumping toward every person, just like overstimulated and kind of out of control.
Yeah.
So when you say no greetings on leash, I just want to be like clear so that I like can understand, because this sounds like something potentially easy to implement, but it would be to anybody that we come across that's a human or a dog. We just keep moving. We don't stop. We don't let that person or dog engage with him.
So dogs, I would say, are a hard no. Dogs
Okay.
on leashes, their behavior is very different when they're off leash. Dogs become very leash aware. And what happens with that is dogs, in their animal brains, they have fight and flight, right? And dogs on leashes know they can't flight. They can't get away because they're on a leash. And so if they get in a situation with another dog that becomes uncomfortable, they just resort to fight. So that's why you see a lot of dogs will greet on leash and everything seems like okay, and then suddenly boom. Like, I'm sure you've seen it a ton of times. That's why. And the bad part is the dog that's the recipient of that now becomes even more leash aware of dogs approaching. So like my dog was one of those dogs. He was attacked twice while he was on leash by off leash dogs running after him. And now like he's very sensitive with the leash stuff. Like he's not reactive, but like I don't let any dog, shape or size, whatever, approach him because I just know he's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So can I ask a quick, like, do you have any tips on, so like we live in Wicker Park, and do you have any tips? Oh, cool. And so we actually walk by like the Wicker Park every morning. That's like part of my route. I take them around the park and then we go home. Like, do you have any like tips or tricks to deal with, because literally every single person with a dog that we come up against in the morning is like, oh, can Brody say hi? Or they just don't even ask and their dog is like in your dog's face.
Yes.
And so
like,
absolutely. Well, the other thing I was going to say is like, this is so consistent with what my like parents learned when they took Daphne and Stuart to do like their little like good citizen training. It was like, do not like ever like have any dog meet another dog on a leash. Like they were, and I think people like hear that and they go, oh, that's not very fun, or that's not really nice. And
but like leash time isn't meant to be fun. Leash time, they should be walking nicely on their leash unless you give them their command, like break free to sniff or whatever. But when they're on their leash, they should be paying attention to you, right? Because you're on a leash for a reason. Like, we're going somewhere, we're doing something, right? And when he's 6 months or older and you guys want to, like, if you want to invest in like doing like the e-collar and off leash training, then like his world opens up, right? But like when he's on his 6-foot leash, it's working time. You know, I say like 80% working, 20% just sniff and be around. But yes, that's exactly right. So like the Canine Good Citizen, the CGC will preach that. And like obviously raising service dog puppies. I'm sure if you've ever seen service dogs in training, they're like, cannot pet, do not pet, don't even look at my dog. That's why.
Yeah.
So, okay. So yes, the tactics, I could write a dissertation on this. So when
he
I was
just
raising,
perked up when he heard you say that.
He's like, what?
He was like, who is this lady that's gonna train me? Do you see
oh,
him
look
there?
at him.
Oh,
yeah,
now he's all like cozy over
Oh,
there.
Oh yeah, he's already exhausted by all this.
Yeah. So I became a pro at this because when I was raising service dogs, I was in 8th grade through high school, and the puppies would come to high school with me, and it was a no touch, no talk, no eye contact rule. So I got really good at telling people to leave me alone.
Yeah.
Because high school girls and Labrador puppies, you can imagine.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So with the people, you can choose wisely. If there's someone that has really calm energy and you feel like there's someone who you could coach, like they would respect your wishes of how to properly greet your puppy, and we can go over that, sure, invite them into the space and tell them like, hey, like before you get down or whatever, like this is how I want you to interact with my puppy. You'll be able to tell those people who are open for that or not. But with people, I usually just tell them like, oh no, thank you. And usually that's enough. Or I'll say, oh, sorry, we're training. Or I'll just ignore them and keep walking.
Yeah. That's even so simple that you don't even think about it. It's like, oh, sorry, we're training. Like, yeah.
And people usually respect that, right?
Yeah.
Like I usually don't get much flack about that. Sometimes they'll be curious, like, oh, like, what are you working on? Like,
Yeah.
And you can just say like, oh, we're just working on calm leash behavior. Easy as that. With the dogs, people, surprisingly, as I'm sure you've already witnessed, don't think of dogs having boundaries. They think of all dogs are just open to everyone, right? Like people will pet your dog without asking. They'll let their strange dog, like, but dogs have boundaries too. Yeah. So this is the part where like, if you put on a hat where if you think about it as I'm advocating for my dog, it will give you more gumption to be more proactive with it, because it really is, you're advocating for your dog's space and boundaries, right? So I give like a very firm no thank you. And if they just like are really being persistent, I'll be like, my dog has something contagious, and you'll see people whip their dogs back.
Oh, totally.
Like the keyword is Giardia. If you haven't heard of that,
yeah,
I tell people he has Giardia, and you will see people run. So I'll use that.
Perpetual state.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we've seen you 5 times out every time your dog has Giardia. That can't be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, reported to animal control.
And you'll be able to start to read the types of people and the types of dogs. You'll be able to spot them from like a block away. So when I see one of those people coming, I usually just switch rudder to my other side, or like I'll walk on the left side of the sidewalk, which is awkward for people, right? It draws their attention, and he's on my left side. So if they pass on my right side, their dog can't cross over my body to get to him. And if they do, I'm going to body block the dog, right?
Yeah.
So you'll kind of learn these tactics. It's the hardest when they're a puppy and they're so cute. But just like, think of it as you're being his advocate, which is 1,000% true. If you have friends with dogs that are healthy and have tolerance for puppies, those can be your really good socialization opportunities. Or you could bring them a place to like our daycare where like, we watch the puppy interactions like a hawk and pair puppies appropriately. But ask people, because like the weather's getting nicer, so people are going to be like, come over to my patio and bring the dog, our dogs can be friends. Ask them, like, is your dog tolerant of puppies? Because it's different. Like adult dogs will tolerate puppies for a little bit and then it will be enough, right?
Yeah.
So in those situations, just ask, and then just, you know, be mindful if Brody's looking like he's being a little bit annoying to the other dog, just like put him on his leash and separate them, you know?
Yeah.
So in that sense, be his advocate as well, because I tell people in those situations, if your puppy's pestering an adult dog and being really annoying and that adult dog corrects the puppy, it's not the adult dog's fault. It's you for not removing your puppy.
Yep.
So this is all kind of like learning about how to be your dog's advocate and respecting boundaries. Do you guys have like any questions about that?
No, that makes sense. I think that will probably be the hardest thing living in a city. Like, you know, as you know, Wicker Park, like I swear there is a dog to like every human, or like it's like 2 to 1, you know, almost. It's crazy.
And I feel like we've been admittedly not the best.
We have not been good with that.
With just kind of like, even from like health reasons with shots and everything, like we've kind of been a little liberal with him on the street as far as like if someone comes up and wants to chat with their dog and come up. So like now I'm already thinking of like the dogs that like we're kind of like dog friends with, that kind of come up on the street regularly. But there are like cases that you've said where there have been guys that have like seen me and jetted across the street with their dog because they like look at him and they go, oh, my dog used to look like that, and and my dog wants to say hi, and they don't even ask.
It puts you in an awkward position, which makes you appreciate those people who ask so much more.
Yes. Yeah.
So this will just take, I think, for us a lot of like being more thoughtful about it, and also just kind of being like a little like, screw you, sorry. Like I really like the line like he's training, and I do also like the just, you know, make up a disease and say sorry, he's contagious.
Yeah,
so.
and like frankly, I just always walk my dog with headphones in, whether I'm listening to something or not, and I just pretend I don't hear people.
Yeah,
that's smart.
Because my dog's also a dog where like he's friendly and tolerant, but he doesn't like enjoy people reaching for him and petting. Like he would rather just be like, hey, walking down the street, smelling, like, you know. So it's like, it's also one of those things that it's like, I guess you can pet him, but like, I don't really know if he like loves it. So like, you know, like, and you'll step on your puppy, what he likes and what he doesn't like. But the other thing is just like conditioning good, calm leash behavior. It's much harder to undo it than to just set the foundation for it. And so a lot of people, like when they see those young service dog puppies like walking through Jewel and, you know, completely calm and passive, it's because they've conditioned that nothing exciting happens when they're on a leash. So they don't expect anything to happen. So they just walk by people and they don't even sniff them because they're like, I know nothing's going to happen. That's how you get that.
So when you say like good leash behavior and nothing exciting is going to happen, like I feel like we kind of like get excited about certain things just at home in general, like, and I'm, you know, not even from a leash side, but just like, don't get him amped. Like, hey, you're going to go on a leash. Hey, we're outside. Hey, sniff this. This is like, hey, this is fun. This is exciting. Like, just be very calm is what I'm getting from you. So it's on us a little bit.
Like, so like when you're training, obviously excitement's going to be a part of that because you want to be the most engaging thing in the environment, right? But I guess what I'm getting at, and I didn't explain this perfectly well, is that you want your dog to look to you for all things fun and exciting in life. You want to be the center of their universe. You want a dog to walk by and he doesn't care about that dog because all good things come from mom and dad. That's what I mean about the excitement.
Okay.
He doesn't expect, you know, like stimulus from the other things because he knows everything good comes from you. So when I had mentioned over socialization, that's something that happens a lot from dogs who don't get walked and they just go to dog parks. Because to them, their fun is other dogs. So when they see other dogs, they're like, that's my thing. That's how I get excited. They don't see their owners as providing exciting things for them.
Okay.
I see.
So they're not engaged with them. They think they're like, all the fun stuff comes from dogs and other people and being other places. Like, these people, they don't mean much to me. They don't give me much. They don't engage with me. They don't teach me new things. Like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the puppyhood is a really, really, really pivotal time to build that relationship with your dog and have them look to you.
So on a leash at this point in his life, what would be like just like a calm state? Is that what we're seeking to provide? Just like us be calm and him be calm, and like we're not amping him about anything.
Yeah, so like, don't think of it as being boring. Think of it as being like stable and sound, right? Because dogs don't understand English. So let's say you're outside and you're like amping him up and stuff. To him, it could be excitement, it could be anxiousness, it could be what is there to be excited? It can cause confusion and anxiety in a dog because they don't really understand. So you want your praise to be worth something, right? Because praise, engagement, affection can be a really great reward. And when you time it perfectly and you make it a resource, it can become very, very, very effective. If you're always just happy about this, good boy, you didn't do anything, but I'm going to tell you you're the best dog ever, it dilutes that, right? You want, yes, you did something right, good boy, means something. So you can shape behavior using that.
I think we like not necessarily struggle, but I think we question whether he's having enough fun. Because we're just like, during the day, the poor guy sleeps like half the day, with me. And then like towards the end of the day, he gets like really excited and then bitey. And so that's not ideal. And so we play with him a little then. And, we kind of use a ball lately on the roof and like kind of tucker him out and just run back and forth. And that's kind of our like little game at the moment. But I think we just always kind of question, like, are we fun enough for him? Like, are we giving him enough fun?
I assure you are fun enough. And it'll be interesting to see. So I don't know do you guys know much about doodles in general?
Like just from my parents having a Springer and a Doodle, but
they're pretty loyal, right?
Like they have a different situation because like they're not in a city, they're in the country. They have fenced in 2 acres. They trained them, when they were, going through their good citizen test, and they're pretty good. But like the lady that was training them was like retiring them and retiring right around then, so she was kind of just like passing everybody. So they're good, but like
okay,
it's a bit of a jumper, and like he listens, but he's not like amazing, and just they don't need to worry about being in a city and on a leash, and they live their best life on
totally different.
Yeah.
So yes, I wouldn't take dog training advice from your parents per se, or really anyone who hasn't had extensive experience training dogs, especially raising puppies. That's different. So doodles are very interesting because you never really know what you're going to get. So a lot of people think that I have a half Bernese Mountain Dog, half Poodle. It's not really how genetics work. So you don't just get half the Bernese personality or the Poodle, or some people think I have a Bernese Mountain Dog that just doesn't shed. That's not how it works, right? So it's a little bit of like a mystery box of what the dog is going to turn into. So some Bernedoodles will lean more towards the Berner, and that's why I asked you if you knew if he was like an F1 or an F1B, because that plays a big factor. So Bernese Mountain Dogs and Poodles are 2 completely different dogs. They really couldn't be more different. Bernese Mountain Dogs are very chill, pretty aloof, not really drivey. They're Berners. They're like pub dogs, right?
Yeah.
Poodles are not that. Poodles are duck retrieving dogs that are meant to be retrieving game from frigid cold water. They're hunting dogs. They're the second smartest dog breed in the world. They're super high drive. And they are like very athletic and sporty. So two very different dogs, and you don't know really which way your dog is going to lean. So normally, like if you had a poodle puppy, I'd be like, this is the approach you want to take with your poodle puppy. If you had a Bernese Mountain Dog, I'd be like, this is the approach, just knowing how they learn and what motivates them. Like a poodle's a retrieving dog, a lot of toys, fetching. Bernese Mountain Dogs, they're not really toy. They don't really have a lot of toy drive, right? So it's different. So you're going to have to kind of see like what he grows up to be and what his personality is. And he may have a little bit of both, or he may lean one side to the other. But when he's young, just try and focus on the dog in front of you. So a lot of doodle owners kind of like form these cliques and they share information and say, this worked for my doodle, this didn't. I mean, with any dog breed, that's a terrible thing to do because dogs are individuals, but especially in doodles, because doodles, like every doodle is so different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just focus on training the dog in front of you, which everyone should be doing because every dog is an individual, but especially with doodles, because some people get caught up in this like doodle scene and have unrealistic expectations for their dogs. So with Brody, if he were to lean more poodle and be more like excitable, energetic, drivey, that's going to mean that you're going to need to harness that. And it can be really fun to train a dog like that because they're fast learners, they're engaged. But if you don't harness that, they're going to use it against you because they're going to outsmart you. If he's more burner and he's kind of just like, I guess learning's fun, you know, whatever. That means that like you're gonna have to really build yourselves up to get him excited to learn and to get him motivated, right? So just like kind of see what his learning patterns are, and you'll be able to pick up on it as he matures more.
Like when would we about like kind of realize that time wise what
like
would
really getting closer to sexual maturity, so like probably after the 6-month mark, but you'll start to see inklings of it. So what I'm getting at is when you said I don't know if we're being fun enough, you're really not going to know, because someone who's fun to a Bernese Mountain Dog is probably not that much fun to a poodle, right? A poodle wants the ball thrown, they want training, they want tasks, they need a job. A Bernese Mountain Dog's like, let's like stroll around the block once, bring me home.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess I can't answer your question, but just he should be sleeping a lot, so let him sleep. Preferably let him sleep in his crate away from you, as far away from you as you can put him. And then just do age appropriate things. Like he really shouldn't be walking a ton because it can affect their joint health. So like little games like you were saying on the rooftop of tossing the ball short distances, you know, introducing structured play, you know, practicing letting go. Like these are all things that'll help you guys teach him. And just like teaching him like the little training things that we'll go over, like that's exercise for a puppy.
Okay, good. It does. I feel like maybe we're walking a little too much.
We probably are.
Yeah.
So for a puppy, especially a large breed, which I'm guessing he's going to be, it's recommended that you walk them, you give them, when I say walk, I mean like on a hard surface and he's like walking, 5 minutes per month they are old per day. So he's
yeah, we are way over
that.
So 20 minutes a day of like focused walking on a hard surface.
Okay, so max out at 20 minutes.
Yeah, so you can split it up throughout the day, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like you guys live really close to Wicker Park. Let's say it's a 5-minute walk there. The grass doesn't really count. So if he wants to do his puppy stuff on the grass, that's fine. But like you were saying, how you walk him around the perimeter of the park, perfect. That's how you're supposed to do puppy socialization, right? Let him hear the dogs in the dog park barking. Let him hear the growling. Let him hear the wrestling, but he's not in the mix.
Yeah.
So walk him 5 minutes to the park, post up and just sit with them in the grass for 20 minutes and then walk the 5 minutes home. That's 10 minutes. do it again. There's your 20 minutes. And the
Yep.
mental exercise of him seeing the world go by is going to exhaust him. And the smelling wears dogs out.
Okay. Man, that's
yeah.
we gotta
It's
work
probably
on that.
about a 10-minute walk to Wicker Park. So that's the rough thing.
Yeah. Well, we can go to any park,
Yeah.
really, if that's all he needs.
Yeah, you can sit on your front stoop or outside a coffee shop. You know?
Totally.
Yeah, that's exercise for a puppy. People get really caught up in this. I have this puppy. I just need to wear him out. But
Yeah.
it's not great for their joints, and I'm sure your vet will explain that to you at some point too.
Okay.
He or she hasn't already. But yes, I just want to check the time.
Yeah, sure.
10 left. Next week, I know, so we talked about like puppy biting is something that you wanted to touch on, extending the sleeping and like cleaning up the potty training. And then we can talk more about like the work from home situation, how to prevent separation anxiety, because I'm a pro at that right now, working through it with my own dog. So those are big things that we can touch on next week, unless is there anything like really pertinent that you want to talk about right now?
So can I ask you a quick question? What are your thoughts on taking him to a patio at Starbucks or a restaurant? Like we like to go to Smoke Daddy on Saturdays. What is your thought about like taking him there and like just letting him lie on the concrete there? Is that okay, or is that too much?
No, that's perfect. Do that.
Okay.
Just be mindful of his behavior. Like, obviously, don't let him like get in the habit of jumping on tables or like jumping on waitresses. But no, that's perfect. Like, that's exactly what people do with service dog puppies that age. Take them somewhere and get them. It's called the art of doing nothing. Teaching your dog the art of doing nothing, that they can go somewhere and just be happy just being there.
Okay.
And he should not be in those scenarios. Theoretically, he should not be. If somebody comes up, we should be using the line, you know, hey, he's in training, don't be engaged with him, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, especially for patio stuff,
that's hard.
Because we're like putting him on display.
Yeah. I know, it's so hard. I always just ask for a table where I can put the dog on one side that'll be like, you know, not as accessible, and I just kind of like, I always like just pull my dog to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the hard part is that the walk is further really than what we're supposed to be doing just to get him there.
Well, actually, I mean, the walk to Wicker Park is 10 minutes. I know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's okay.
Don't like, you don't have to be like wed to that 5 minutes, you know. If it's a little bit here or there, just be mindful. Is like, if you notice him slowing down or like he doesn't want to walk, some people think that their puppy's just like being bratty, not wanting to walk. A lot of times it's the puppy saying like, I can't keep going. So
yeah,
just be mindful. I know he's bigger, but like,
I feel like he wants to go more. Like he's somebody who never really wants to go home.
Yeah. And so this will be a good exercise for him to learn how to just like be a tolerant, chill guy.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you can always get the long line and let him just be a goof in the park. Yeah, just let him be his doggy stuff. But if you just do a quick Google search about large breed puppies and exercise requirements as they grow, you'll find a lot of reputable resources, and they'll show you x-rays of what their joints, because their joints aren't even like touching yet. They have all of this like extra gap space, and so their growth, like, you can really mess up their growth plates if you over exercise them.
Oh,
that's very good to know.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, just be mindful of that. I don't want to scare you. If he has to have a long walk one day, he's gonna be fine. But it's like the everyday repetitive occurrence you want to avoid.
He's had a long walk since we got him every day, so multiple. So this is good info.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, just before we go, is on my end, the other thing that I would love to know more about is like how much time should he really be in his house, and what any tips and tricks to make it easier and make it a place he wants to be, because even when he is tired or sleepy, like if we get home from our initial long walk in the day, he will, it's 8 in the morning, he'll sleep until noon and not do anything. But if I move him into his house, he then is up and he's alert, and then he starts barking and he's not happy that he's in his house.
Yep. So we'll get more to utilizing time in the crate for potty training next week, but for that, get a bunch of Kongs off Amazon. They're way cheaper on Amazon. Get them off Amazon. What I like to do is like every Sunday, stuff them with stuff and freeze them and keep them in the freezer and just have them at the ready. You can freeze canned dog food in there, baby food, his own kibble, cottage cheese. I mean, a bunch of different stuff. And put that with him in the crate. It will be something enriching, but it's also tiring. So he'll work at eating it, and then afterward he's going to be tired and probably zonk out. So that's a good tip. And yeah, definitely buy them on Amazon. And then otherwise, if you just go on YouTube, just search crate games, and there are thousands of videos of just fun little games you can play with your puppy involving the crate that will build positive association.
Okay. That's good to know.
And we'll introduce later like a formal kennel command, but until then, just do some crate games and just build the positive association. When he comes home from the walk, I would just put him in the crate rather than letting him fall asleep outside of it.
Should he be eating and drinking in his crate?
You can feed him his meals in a crate. That's a good way to build positive association. Yep. With the water, a reason he could be having accidents still is you're letting him free drink water, so you don't know what's coming in and when it's going to need to come out. So I would start restricting his water to meal times, and then anytime he like is panting and needs water, so that way you know when he's gonna have to pee. And then anytime that you can't watch him 100%, he should be in his crate.
Okay.
Yep.
Working from home people, sometimes they get a little loosey-goosey. If I'm just going to check my emails and I'm going to keep an eye on him, but then you get in your emails and puppy had an accident, right?
Yeah.
So just put him in his crate, because he's probably not going to have accidents in his crate, I'm guessing. And that will help you add more structure, and we can go into much more detail about that next week, but that will really fine-tune his potty training.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
This has been very helpful.
Good. Any other just general questions?
I don't think so.
I feel like just he has kind of his time of day is like probably the hour and a half before dinner is like his witching hour. And so like it's like 3:30, he eats at 5. So like 3:30 to 5, he is like a crazy little spaz. And it's like if biting, and he wants to play and have fun. And it's like if I'm on a call or if I'm whatever, and if I put him in his little house, he goes crazy. Like that's his time. So any tips on that? It sounds like the Kong might be beneficial for that time. Yep.
That would be a great activity for that time. So when the sun starts to go down, that's when mother dogs would bring their puppies out of the den, because they would be protected by the cloak of darkness from predators and stuff. So that's why puppies get those witching hours around dawn, because they're preconditioned to sleep all day while mom would be out hunting, and then mom comes home and then it's time to go explore. So that's why you get like the dusk and the dawn with witching hours.
Yeah.
Yes, the Kong stuff, also just ignoring it and not allowing it, which we can talk more about how to correct a puppy. And yeah, like a lot of that is just overstimulation, which either needs to be redirected or stopped. So putting him in his crate could be a good way to stop that. but if you're like on a call, then you may not be able to enforce the crate measures like we need them to be. So I would try putting him in the crate with the frozen Kong.
Okay. Should he, so his crate, so he lives in the guest room. It's Brody's room now. Should he be sleeping at night, like with the door closed? Like the crate door, obviously, but then like also the room door. Should that be closed, or should, like, we've kind of been open. Friends of ours also said, like, you know, get the room as dark as possible. And to be honest, that's been really helpful. Before, and like after he came home from Wisconsin from my parents, like he, like, it's dark there, very dark.
Yeah.
So
as the sun starts rising earlier, he'll probably start rising earlier. So yeah, get the blackout curtains if you can. But yes, as much time that you can put him in his crate in the guest room with the door closed, and it's as if you aren't there, even if you are, do it.
Okay.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Separation anxiety is, excuse my language, but it's an absolute bitch to fix.
Okay.
And it can end up being really expensive, not just because of the professional training you need, but because of the dog destroying your home or destroying itself, like chewing its paws, you know, the chronic stuff. So working from home in the crate in the guest room with the door closed.
Okay.
And even if he's barking, we just ignore it and keep going.
It. Big tip. Are you guys going over like 2 minutes of time?
Yep.
Okay, so big tip for the barking is take his crate and point it toward a wall or the closet in your guest bedroom, and leave like 6 inches of space so there's airflow so he can breathe. And then with the other remaining 4 sides, drape a heavy blanket over it. So when he barks, whines, or cries, it only has one exit, and it will get muffled by the wall or the closet. It'll give the closets full of clothes. It will absorb the sound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have like a little bit of a tight space.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can rearrange.
Yeah, or like don't rearrange your furniture, but put like a comforter over his crate, something that is dense. And then he's just pointed toward the drywall. The drywall itself will absorb a lot of it.
Okay.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, that's been the concern, because it's like, you know, our downstairs neighbor is here, and at some point you're like, we have to be responsible neighbors, but we still want to be able to train them appropriately.
Yeah. It's a really tricky balance with the people working from home now.
Yeah.
You want to be proactive and just slip a Starbucks gift card under their door and just
bottle of wine already done.
Yeah. Oh, you did it. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're probably ready for another one.
Yeah.
I know, right? Usually it's like if you don't get over that hump, the whining, crying, barking goes on longer than just like a rough 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so like maybe choose to do it, like really buckle up on a weekend or something.
I was just thinking we could, like maybe a Saturday, Sunday, just like, you know, kind of rip that Band-Aid. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like a lot of people who live in the suburbs of new puppies just put their puppies in the basement, or they'll put them in their car trunk in the garage and like just let them have at it, and nobody is there to hear it. It's like if the tree falls and no one's there, was it barking? So,
yeah.
Yeah,
the city's a little bit different.
He's just like pulling at our heartstrings, and I feel like some of us he pulls a little harder.
I know. Just he's not. Don't let him convince you that he's a baby. He's not a baby. Yeah.
And I like the advocate, like you're actually being his advocate to prevent like further issues. Here, let's turn
goof.
Oops. Oh, I'm trying to flip it. Maybe not.
No, probably
not.
Yeah,
you guys are an iPad. I'm like, I don't think you can flip it.
There you go.
He's just being a total goof. So really he should be in his crate right now.
Hi, buddy. Yeah, I would have put him in the crate. if like if I was you, just so you know you could focus on the conversation and not have to worry about him having an accident or getting into trouble.
Okay. Hey, you want to say hi? Look at you.
It's fine. Hi, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, so next week we'll go much more in depth into like potty training. You guys have a pretty good grasp on that. Otherwise, that would have been top priority, and we'll go from there. And then next week is like the first week that I'll give you homework to start teaching him things.
Okay. Sounds good. Hear that, Pam?
Awesome. Well, you have my email address. It's on the calendar invite. If anything like urgent comes up through the week, shoot me an email. Or if you're the type of people who just like to keep a list of questions, feel free to email them to me throughout the week and just say like, don't worry about responding to now, it's for class, and then we can just run through them, like whatever system works for you.
Okay,
Perfect.
That sounds great. This has been super helpful. Thank you.
Good. It was nice.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.